Welcome to Crossing Borders, Shaping Minds podcast, where we dive into the critical topics shaping education today. I'm Richmond Inti, your host, and in today's episode, we will be exploring the unique challenges that internationally trained teachers face when they step into US classrooms. These teachers bring invaluable cultural perspectives and skills, but adapting to a new educational environment comes with its own set of challenges. Whether you are an educator, a policymaker, or just curious about the world of teaching, this episode is for you. Now, let's start by setting the stage. Internationally trained teachers often come from educational systems where cultural norms around authority, classroom structure, and teaching methods can differ greatly from those in the US. Lee, in his article titled Challenges of Internationally Educated Teachers in the US Public School System, highlighted the challenges teachers face in adapting to more informal classroom interactions where students are encouraged to participate more openly. In his study, Lee states that internationally trained teachers expressed how difficult it was to adapt to student-centered approach. But what does this look like in practice? To shed more light on this, I'm excited to bring a guest on the show who goes by the name Abna Nyakon, who is a middle school teacher at Evergreen Middle School. She is an internationally trained teacher from Ghana who has been teaching in the US for some time now. Welcome to the show, Abna, and thank you for joining us today.
All right, thank you. And good morning once again.
Good morning. We appreciate that you've given us your time because it's early morning and you probably might be doing something else, but you've given us this time, so we are grateful. Um, can you share a bit about your background and the initial cultural challenges you faced when you started teaching in the US?
All right. So, as an international teacher coming from Ghana, with my country, when you enter the classroom, students are ready to learn. So they sit down quietly for you, the teacher, to give them the instructions, and then you give them your objectives for the day. And then you tell them what to do. They follow, they sit down quietly, listen to you so respectfully. But when I came to the US, it was totally different because the first time I entered the classroom, it was so challenging. Understanding the nuances of students and then the student-teacher relationship and their classroom behaviors, how they learn, all these were different from where I'm coming from. So all these were challenging to me, especially when it comes to student participation in the classroom. In my country, students, you ask questions, they raise their hand before they talk. So if you don't call anybody, nobody will talk. But it is a different thing altogether here. It is difficult for students to participate in classroom in the US. When you ask them a question, it is hardly for them to raise their hand before they talk. The moment you ask the question, everybody wants to share their ideas. So you have to spend some time to calm everybody down before you can be able to maybe call one person to give his or her answer, which doesn't happen in my country. And then again, when it comes to their behavior in the classroom, because of their cultural background, it is difficult for a student in the US to sit in the classroom quietly and then listen to a teacher. And again, I would say that their teaching methods are different from ours. Since ours is basically on teacher-directed instructions, DS is not like that, because DS is more student-centered. So all these are challenges I faced when I came to the US initially. But I think for now, I've been able to cope and then adjust, and then I've been able to diversify some of these cultural shocks.
Let's look at how you were able to incorporate language, because one of the significant challenges discussed in the literature is language barriers. And so according to Fee in this article titled Latino Immigrant and Guest Bilingual Teachers, Overcoming Personal, Professional and Academic Culture Shock, teachers reported struggles with being judged or underestimated due to their accent. Even when teachers are fluent in English, regional dialects, idioms, and educational jargon can sometimes present challenges. Again, teachers who are non-native English speakers may face challenges with pronunciation, accent, or specific American phrases, which can sometimes create misunderstandings in the classroom. Can you talk about how language impacts internationally trained teachers like yourself and how you're able to overcome that?
All right. So I will say that language is a big barrier when you first come to the US to teach.
Yeah.
Because we, the international teachers, normally don't understand some of their colloquial phrases they made, and then some of the slangs and other languages or other things they say. I will even use their style of spelling as compared to ours, because they use the American English and then we were taught with the British English. There are some words that when I spell, it is different from how they spell. Yes. And then with the accent too. The moment you go to the first day I went to the classroom and then I started speaking, the students were like, ooh, she has an accent.
Wow.
And yeah, and that even created some kind of tension in the classroom. Because the moment the student make that comment, everybody was like, ooh, and they started making noise and other things. So I had to come in and then I quickly calmed them down. And I told them that, yes, I have an accent because I'm not an American.
Right.
And I come from a different place. I have a different culture. They also have different culture. So the same, while they are telling me that I have an accent, the same when they also travel to another place, those natives there will also tell them that they have an accent, because we don't have the same cultures in this world. We have different cultures. So when I told them this, I think they thought about it well, and the language, now we were able to communicate. So I started listening more, and then expecting feedback. If I talk and then I realized they don't understand it or they didn't hear it well, I repeat myself again. If they talk and I also don't hear what they are telling me, I ask them again, what did you say? And then they will repeat themselves. So I think with time, they are learning to understand my accent. I'm also learning to understand them. So now that challenge of language is becoming a bit okay now, because now I think they understand me more. I also understand them. When I talk, they can they can understand, because initially it was difficult for me to even interpret concepts for them to understand because of the language barrier, because they were claiming that they cannot hear what I was saying. So I was trying to adapt, and then bit by bit, or somehow now it is okay, because now when I explain any concept to them, they understand it. When I give them exercise, they are able to do it. So it means when I talk, they understand. So that's how I was able to overcome the language barrier.
I've actually heard, some teachers say that sometimes they have to repeat themselves severally before students can understand what they are saying. All right, let's delve into classroom management. Lee and Fee have both discussed how different disciplinary practices can lead to challenges for internationally trained teachers. Again, Bainan et al., in their article titled Re-Credentialing Experiences of Immigrant Teachers, Negotiating Institutional Structures, Professional Identities, and Pedagogy, states that teachers experience challenges in integrating their previous teaching methods and classroom management styles within the host country's classroom. This means that because foreign teachers have different pedagogical skills, it is challenging to manage students in a classroom. For example, the teaching style in most Ghanaian classrooms is traditionally teacher centered. And I think you've even made mention of that. And also, many classrooms, especially in rural areas in Ghana, have limited access to technology. Ghanaian classrooms also emphasize on discipline, respect for teachers, and adherence to rules. Whereas in the US, teaching emphasizes active student participation with methods like group work, discussions, project based learning, and hands on activities. Teachers use tools like smart boards, and I think even in your school it will be prevalent. Smart boards, laptops, tablets, and educational softwares to enhance learning in the US. So Abna, in your experience, how did you adjust your classroom management style when you started teaching at Evergreen Middle School?
All right. So with the classroom management, when I initially came, when we went for orientation, we were told that we have to set our rules, our classroom rules. And then when we go to the classrooms, we have to make sure that we ponder over the rules every day, every morning. Anytime we need to ponder over the rules, we have to, because these students are different from those in our home country. In Ghana, most of the schools, you will not enter a classroom and then see class rules pasted on the walls. No, it doesn't happen. But here you have to post the rules on the wall, make them read it every day, plus the consequences attached to the rules. But it doesn't happen in my country. So when I came, I had to print the rules out and then put them in my classroom with the consequences attached to it. And then I also had to make a PowerPoint of it and then show it to them every morning for them to read it, read the consequences too before classes start. So I think with that initial training helped a lot, because the classrooms here, these students are such that if you don't tell them what to do, they are like, you didn't tell me this is what you wanted. So they will behave otherwise. So when you go to the classroom, even if you want them to write, you have to tell them that write this. When you put a note on the board and you don't tell them, take your notebooks and write, nobody is going to write it because you didn't tell them that they should write. It doesn't happen in my country. So classroom management, initially I was facing some problems with classroom management. And I would say I still face some problems though with the classroom management, but it's better than when I came initially.
Thank you for that. It seems that adapting to a participatory classroom culture requires both flexibility and support. So let's look at technology-wise, because in Ghana, most schools are not privy to some educational softwares. So when you came, how were you able to adapt?
Okay, so with the technology too, when I came, I was already an IT literate. So I could just operate or use my laptop and other things. But the smart board in our country, we don't use the smart board. So the first day I went to the school, I contacted a colleague teacher and he helped me with the usage of the smart board. So that is how I transitioned from the traditional writing of board into using the smart board. I had to learn from a colleague. So the colleague teacher taught me how to use the smart board and I was able to adjust. And then there are some softwares that they use that we don't use in our country. They use these softwares, GeoGebra, Kahoot, Quizzes, and other things, Mastery Connect. We don't use all these in our country. And that is what they use here for their assessment. In Ghana, what we know is exercise book, teacher giving or writing the questions on the board, and then you do your work or assessment in your exercise book. And then at the end of the day, the teacher takes the books and mark them. But it doesn't happen here. All their exercises, it is either you are printing a worksheet for them or they are doing it either on Kahoot or in Mastery Connect or on Big Ideas. So all these, I had to consult other teachers for them to teach me before I was able to transition from my traditional teaching to the new system of teaching here.
So another major challenge is credentialing process. Credentialing is the process by which teachers who have obtained their teaching qualification in one country seek to have their credentials recognized or adapted to meet the requirement of the educational system in another country. Internationally trained teachers go through this to gain licensure or certification to teach in the host country. World Education Service, WES or WES, as it's normally called, is one of the credentialing evaluation agency. The process can be expensive and time consuming. In some cases, teachers are required to pass the praxis exams or similar state level tests. Bainan et al. In their article stated that this process can delay teachers' full participation and also add stress. So, Abna, what have you observed regarding how this process of credentialing affects teachers' integration?
All right. So I will say that I totally agree with what you initially said, that it's normally delays teachers and then stresses teachers a lot. I will use myself as an example. When I came here, I used the first degree to apply.
Okay.
But when I used it to apply, they sent me a message to send my certificate to one of these credential agents to verify my certificate whether it is accepted here. And that one cost a lot. So I had to do that and then they verified it before I used that to apply. So I think it cost a lot, and most teachers who don't have the means cannot apply or cannot do it because of the financial problem. And I would say in Ghana, when someone completes the teacher training, the person is given a diploma. And with the diploma, the person can use it to teach for some time before maybe upgrading into a degree. Or you can even decide not to upgrade into a degree, just wait for GES promotions. But when it comes here, they don't recognize diploma certificate. So if you don't have the degree too, you cannot transition from your country to teach here. Although you have received the training to teach, you cannot, without the degree, teach here. But I think that is a problem because those who have obtained the diploma in our country, when you compare them to, let's say, some degree holders, you realize that those people can teach more than those who even have degree. So I think if the education department here will recognize teachers with the diploma too, teachers who have the diploma, it will help. Then when they come, they can have some programs for them.
So let me also ask, did you have to take any test when you came?
All right, so when I came here, and then I applied for a teaching certificate here. For that one, I didn't write any examination. Okay. Because I already have my certificate from my country, which is recognized here. Okay. And then I've already done the credentials or the evaluation, course by course evaluation. I didn't write any exam again.
So to bring this all together, it is crucial to consider what can be done to support internationally trained teachers. Fee, in this article, emphasizes the role of social capital, noting that support for peers and mentors was essential for easing the transition of teachers. And I think Abna even alluded to the fact that some of her colleagues had to, help her transition or learn how to even use some of the educational softwares that she wasn't privy to. So, Abna, let me ask you this question. What kind of support or mentorship did you find most helpful during your transition?
All right. So, the support I think was helpful to me was when I went to the school, I was given a mentor.
Okay.
So the person who is my mentor always comes to my class to help me with things I don't know, especially with technology and then the teaching strategies here. So I would say the mentorship helped, and then professional development trainings too. When I came, that one too has helped me a lot because every month I'm supposed to attend one professional training. When we go, we are taught different strategies that we can use in our classrooms. We are taught how to manage our classrooms, since classroom settings in the US and then the classroom settings in our home countries are not the same. So we are taught how to transition from our home country's culture to adopt this culture that we find ourselves here. When we came to, before we even went to the classroom or before we went to our schools for the first day, training was organized for us. Some 3-day training was organized by our various districts for us. And that also helped us a lot. Because when we went for the training, our minds were prepared about what we are going to face in the classroom. So before you even go to the school, before the students come, you know that these students are this and this and that. So there are some things we were expecting. And truly, we were expecting them and they happened too. So it wasn't new to me. It wasn't new to me because I've heard that this is how they behave and this is how you have to compose yourself if they behave this way. So I think that also helped me a lot.
So to wrap up, it's clear that international teachers face multifaceted challenges, as Abna has outlined for us, from cultural adaptation and language barriers to classroom management and credentialing processes. Understanding and addressing these issues are crucial for maximizing their impact. By fostering supportive environments and creating tailored support systems, we can help these teachers succeed. And so, in wrapping up, my last, question in wrapping up this conversation, Abna, what recommendations, maybe strategies you have used? I think you said that earlier, but what are some of the recommendations that you would give to a new international teacher to help him or her overcome their language challenges, cultural challenges, and classroom management differences?
Okay, so what I will tell incoming international teachers is that when you are coming to the US to teach, you have to prepare your mind that the students here are totally different from those we have at home. Students here are outspoken. I'll use the word outspoken as compared to students who are in our home countries. And then you should also prepare your mind that the classroom setting we have in our homes are not the same as the classroom setting we have here. The students here, I will say, don't sit for a teacher to teach as compared to those in our country. So you need to prepare your mind. You need to be emotionally strong because of the cultural shocks. Because if you are not emotionally strong within the first day of your school, you decide to go back because of their behavior and then attitude and then the cultural difference. So you need to be strong emotionally, mentally, and then prepare yourself. And then you also have to abreast yourself with technology because everything here is about technology. So if you don't know anything about ICT, then I will say that you have to learn before you apply. If not, you find yourself wanting. Even marking register. In our country, we use pen and paper to take attendance. But here it is an app we use to take the attendance. So if you don't know anything about technology, that will also be a big challenge for you. So I would say that is the recommendations I have.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Abnanyako, for sharing with us your insights and experience. Now, to my audience, if you found this episode enlightening, please share it with your network and subscribe for more in-depth discussions. Join us next time on Crossing Borders, Shaping Minds podcast, where we continue exploring the important stories that shape education. Until next time, keep learning and supporting the educators who make a difference every day. Bye.